Hello, YouTubers. Happy Sunday. Hello, TikTokers. I am just like loving doing lives at sunset. But since it's Sunday, I thought I would talk specifically about setting up for your brand new week. And if you're having a little bit of Sunday scaries at the moment, maybe you're in a place in life where you're trying to make things change. Like my lives, my podcast, my channel is really for the high achieving women, my high achieving women that are very ambitious and have big goals, have big visions for their life, want to create huge things for their career or their business or their relationships. And so, if you are watching this and you're resonating with that, then continue to watch because I'm going to talk about starting getting into a new week and what that energy should look like and things to kind of help with starting a new week. I remember before my business, like 6 7 years ago, when I was working in the fitness industry, I was a gym manager, and I would really resent and hate having to wake up on a Monday and start this new week because I wasn't tapped into my purpose. I felt disconnected with my current situationship, my relationships, my home environment. I felt like I was so disconnected from myself. I was lacking self-love and self-confidence as well. And so when you're like feeling all these and you're an ambitious woman, when you're a high achiever, it can feel super overwhelming and super frustrating because you're feeling all of these feelings simultaneously, but it's also like, how come I can't shake it? How come I can't move it? How come, even though I have these big plans and these big goals and these desires, why do I continue every single week the same? Or why am I having this anxiety? I always say happy CEO Monday every Monday, and I started this years ago. And it's because I started to gradually really fall in love with Mondays and setting up my week. And let's just wait for the plane to go over. But the reason I started saying this and why I started to really fall in love with Mondays, and I call it my CEO Monday, because I want you to look at it like a day where you're setting yourself up for success for the rest of the week. It doesn't mean we fall off track the rest of the week, but like CEO Mondays is really like looking at what is my vision? What is my long term vision? I just spoke about long term vision a couple of lives ago. So, definitely, and like sustainability with our goals and how we're working towards our goals. So, this will feed in nicely. But for me, it's like, how can I set myself up for success, not only for this week, but for the long term? And the secret really into that is creating a Monday and the start of the week into something that's inspiring, something that is super creative, something that's exciting. And if you're watching this and you are in a place where I was, so I totally understand, I get it, where you are ending your week, it's Sunday, you're getting Sunday scaries, you're getting a bit of anxiety, starting a Monday, and you're feeling super overwhelmed and you feel like you're just on this hamster wheel. What I want you to start to do is do things differently. And I know you might listen to that and be like, well, obviously, but how many times have you actually made a complete shift in your routine, your habits, your mindset, what you're doing physically, working out, classes, whatever it may be, to actually create a change? Sometimes as high achievers, we can be our own disservice because again, we have these big goals and visions and we can think about it, and that thinking about it actually gives us the dopamine hit. And when we have a dopamine like hit like that, it almost makes us feel like we've achieved something. And so we don't actually make any movement forward. We don't actually make any progress. And again, this is why I work with high achieving women. I do this work specifically in my mastermind, Woman Mastery, specifically because I see so many women get into these cycles where they're like, well, look, I have these grand plans and these ambitious. This is where I want to take my business. This is how I want to bring into my relationship and what I want to create. But it's like almost getting high off of thinking about it and your visions, and you get into this cycle, and it's like by the time we're coming around to May now, the fifth month of 2024, and I want you to do a bit of a self-reflection, like where are you sitting for the year in terms of progress and success. It is completely up to you to decide. In all of my lives, nearly all of my lives, I've said success. I do this with my clients. You must define what success is for you. But right now, even if you're not watching it at time of recording or just straight after, what is your version of success? And now we are about to hit May 2024, wherever you are in your life after watching this. Are you on track? Are you doing something that is moving you forward? Hello to everyone joining on TikTok and on YouTube. Are you actually like ticking off things properly? Not the things that don't matter, It's like when we write a to-do list and we'll write stuff like write out to-do list or check emails or tidy desk. And then we've got the real chunky stuff like the needle moving things for our business, our career, our life. And they all get squished to the bottom. But we've done like the laundry, we've cleaned the fridge, we've cleaned our desk, we've written out our to-do list, we've made our bed. And it's like, yeah, like that's some form of achievement. But if we keep going in those cycles and that hamster wheel, that's actually not going to tick off the big goals that we have in life and in our business. And so when we are getting into the start of the week, like I love Mondays because again, it is starting to set me up for my long-term version of success and my version of success for the week. And so really tangible things you can start to look at regardless of where you're at in life is, are there inspiring things happening in my week? Are there exciting things? Are there creative things? Am I working towards my values? And this is where self-reflection gets so important, because you need to actually tap in and reflect if what action you were taking, and this is where we need to get very consciously aware as high achievers, like, is the action you're actually taking, is it benefiting you? Is it in a way that's going to move you forward? When we stay in self-sabotaging cycles, when we continue a feedback loop that gives us a dopamine hit, but then we look back and go, well, I haven't made progress, it is because that also benefits you. What people don't understand is if you are in a perceived bad or negative cycle or mindset or way of living, you are somehow benefiting from that. So your subconscious mind is going to grab on to whatever that benefit is, whether it's comfort, whether it's like you can predict what happens. These are like the most common ones. Whether you don't need to expand your comfort zone, anything like that. And so look at what type of benefit you're actually experiencing. Is it the benefit of staying the same in the comfort of predicting what's going to happen if you continue the cycle? Or are you actually moving forward and creating a benefit where at the end of the week and then at the end of the month, you can look back and be like, wow, like I was here at the start of the month and now I'm here. Instead of like being here and feel like you're looping back and you're loop, 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 loop. And that's where I see so many high achievers is they continuously just loop back. And so again, in something inspiring, things that are creative, things that are exciting, you want to also make sure that you're working in alignment with your values, what you deeply desire. Something that I work exclusively on with all of my clients, my one-on-ones and my mastermind clients, is the ability to be able to understand what your actual values are. A lot of people are like, my value is family and money and health. That is very fluffy. That tells me nothing. I can tell by your actions and by the way you're speaking about your life what your actual values are. I can tell by the excuses you use what your values are. If you tell me that your value is money and saving and investment, but all you're doing is spending money, all you're doing is you talk down about money, you have a bad negative relationship, that your value is probably spending money for the dopamine hit or for the external validation. And the quicker we can understand, like minimize this gap between where we are and understanding what values we actually have, the quicker and easier it's going to become to shift them and change them if we decide to. If we decide, like, yeah, I value money because of the validation, and you sit in that and that feels good for you, continue that. But why it's so important to understand is because that's how your whole week is going to be set out. And if you're not progressively working towards something, you're in a forever loop. And then before you know it, it's like 10 years down the track. Like I stayed in the same loops for nearly like a decade. The same thinking patterns, the same behaviors, the same excuses. So many people, like, I post what I see on TikTok is a lot is people are very outspoken when either way it goes, their thought patterns and their belief systems are challenged. And I made a TikTok the other day. If you're watching here on TikTok, definitely go and I think I'm wearing like a pink top, but go and watch it. It's like a minute. I made a TikTok and I said that sometimes people are just lazy and they lack focus and they lack discipline. And there were people in the comments, I think a lot of the comments got restricted by TikTok itself, because people were like, this is rude. Like, you don't know what people going through, like, illnesses and disability. Do you think that people, that paraplegics that are in the Olympics don't have discipline and focus? They probably have more than you and I that are body abled. And this is the thing, I called out people for being lazy because people are just lazy. There was a period in my life where I was ambitious as fuck and I had big goals, but I was lazy. And I think the quicker that we can actually come to terms when we are a disservice to our own abilities, we are disservice, we are playing this role in our own suffering, that the quicker we can start to work on that. And so as we head into Monday, whenever you watch us, if you're midweek and you find yourself in the same slumps, you're ending the day and you're feeling this burnt out, or you're feeling like, oh, what's my purpose, or I can't connect to it, or everything has seemed so hard, start to do something differently. Create a different routine. Create a different way that you wake up. Do things differently. End your night differently. Do something different in the middle of the day. One thing, one of my corporate clients, she, something that really just broke up her day was going for a walk every lunchtime around the block instead of just sitting in the kitchen with all the other colleagues. Something small to shift and to get clarity of where she is and what she's doing. And again, people want these extravagant answers or these like secret formulas or secret tips and tricks. It's really in the small things. There's two types of nervous system regulation. There's mitigation and then there's responsiveness. So mitigation are the things like eating enough, having enough protein, sleeping enough, drinking enough water, looking after ourselves, our hygiene, all of that type of stuff. And then there's a responsive, which is like, are we doing the healing work? Are we feeling somatically what's healing? Are we aligning with our values? Are we listening to our intuition? What are we doing to trust ourselves? How are we responding to any trauma that's coming up present in our life? How are we becoming consciously aware of our patterns? But sometimes, people want to skip almost to that part. But I want you to like come back. Like, are you eating enough? Are you getting enough hydration? Are you sleeping enough? Are you looking after yourself? And this may seem so obvious to people, but like, what's the intention behind this as well? Yesterday, I went live and I spoke about what's your intentions behind what you're doing. You can't just do these things that you see on social media and hope they fix you if there's no intention. And so, as you set up your week and as you do things for yourself and as you try to create more expansiveness in your life, because I've spoken about this before, but if you were constantly operating from this constricted nervous system instead of an expansive nervous system, you're never going to feel into what you actually desire in life. But it's making these small changes. So my challenge to you, and I do this every Monday when I check in with my one-on-ones, when I check in with my masterminders, they tell me like, how are you setting your week up for success? But how does it look different to last week? Because if you're repeating the same thing, like, and this is where self-reflection comes into it, you need to, like, on a Sunday, just do it. You don't even need to write it down. This is, again, if you are trying to bridge the gap, stop trying to take leaps. Do it. Even if that means self-reflection. Like, sometimes I'll sit on my balcony and I'll just stare out to the sky and to the city and I'll just self-reflect. Other times I do get out my journal and I am writing, or I'm in my phone notes. But self-reflect. What has worked? What hasn't? What went really well? What didn't go really well? Learn, make it better. 10 times a thing that went really well, and then detract away from the thing that didn't. It doesn't mean give up, but it's about being honest with yourself, about your time management, about the way you're doing things, about your outlook, your mindset. A lot of my work, most of my work is all rooted in subconscious reprogramming and identity shifting. My 3 phases of woman mastery are subconscious reprogramming, identity shifting, and nervous system regulating to a new capacity. So for you, I want you to self-reflect, ask yourself, what can I do to set myself up for a brand new week, myself up for my success, my long-term success, but how can that filter into just this week? And then when we reflect at the end of the month, we can see how everything is working. I know a lot of people that are getting to the end, that I got to this quarter 2 of 2024, and they're not happy with their progress. They're confused of why they're not moving. They're saying that they're doing the work, the inner work, and it's not making sense why things aren't shifting and moving. It doesn't make sense because you're not reflecting and you're not actually tuning in what's going to create success. What is actually going to get me towards that? You know the answer. It's about initiating it and executing it, minimizing that gap between the thought and the execution. All right, my loves, I'm going to go. I need to start dinner, and it's actually quite humid outside here. But if you enjoyed this, definitely go watch the last couple of my lives because they feed perfectly into this. Thank you for everyone that joined. I appreciate all of you, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.